Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Andrew Yang, and we are going to talk about the November 20th Atlanta MSNBC Washington Post debate number 5. I'm very excited. And in addition to that, we're going to talk about David Spade, Jeff Ross, Brad Williams. They are all comedians, and we're going to talk about a boom moment that just happened, right? And what we're really hoping for Andrew Yang to happen in the November 20th Atlanta MSNBC Washington Post debate number 5. I'm so excited. All right, we're only 4 days away. 4 days to more debate gold content where Andrew Yang just gets to politically slap people around, right? He gets better in every single debate. He is smoother and more comfortable in his own skin and more comfortable battling these crocodiles. It's like he's learning how to battle crocodiles. Oh, you got to come in high. You got to hit them on the top of their forehead, with your political club, right? I'm so excited. All right. So let's talk about this. All right. So what do we need in the November 20th Atlanta MSNBC Washington Post debate number 5? What we really need is we need a boom moment. Now, let me just define a boom moment. So a great example of a boom moment from a debate is Senator Lloyd Bentsen saying to Senator Dan Quayle, "You, Senator, are no Jack Kennedy," right? And that has that's been added to the American lexicon of put-downs, right? And now it just converts to, "You, sir, are no Jack Kennedy." And people say it all the time, and it's a really fast way of saying, hey, you think you're a lot, but you're not, and I'm going to deflate you, right? It's a way of deflating your opponent, right? It was a boom moment, right? It's remembered to this day, right? That's a boom moment, and we really need a boom moment for Andrew Yang, okay? Now, the tricky part about boom moments is they don't just happen. The tricky thing about a boom moment is they do just happen. You cannot manufacture them. You cannot, right? You need ingredients, and if you have the ingredients there, sometimes a boom moment will happen, and sometimes it won't. But I saw one today that I want to talk to you about, and I want to analyze it to see if there's anything we can understand for the likelihood of a boom moment happening, or is there anything Yang can do to increase the chances of a boom moment. All right, so let's talk about David Spade's brand new show. So David Spade is a comedian. He was on SNL for a few years. He's older now. He's like 50 or 60 years old. He's like 50 years old. I don't think he's 60. Excuse me. So he's an older comedian now, and he has a brand new show on Comedy Central. I watched that show, and this is exciting to me, just how I watch this show. So I have never turned, I can't even turn on Comedy Central in my house. So the way we structure all the media in our house is everything is streaming. We used to not even own a box that would allow us to get cable. We now have a box that we can turn it on and we can watch cable the way regular human beings watch cable. But whenever we do that, in my family, we're so used to watching Netflix, YouTube. We have YouTube Red. We almost never see ads, right? And so when we turn on the television and there's an ad every 10 minutes, or it's like, oh, you got to watch this at 4 p.m. It seems ridiculous to us. So we never really watch normal TV anymore, right? And so when we watch David Spade's new show, it's right on YouTube. It gets cut up into 5-minute segments, and I eat those 5-minute segments like potato chips. Now, this is a big deal because I don't really like David Spade. I feel like his comedy has a level of cruelty that I'm not really comfortable with. I think he's kind of a bully comic, and I'm not a fan. Like, it's weird. Now, here's the problem, right? I just told you I'm not a fan of David Spade's show, or I'm not a fan of David Spade. But the reality is his new show called Lights Out. It's a half-an-hour show where he just brings on comedians, he brings on influencers, he brings on celebrities, and they talk about today's news for a 30-minute segment, right? And it's fantastic. And I watch every single clip they release for it. I love the show. David Spade has knocked it out of the park. I don't like David Spade as a comic, but that is an abstract, me saying, oh, I don't like David Spade. I watch every single minute of his new show. It is fantastic. It's really, really good, right? And so I was watching it this morning. This happened like 45 minutes ago. So I was watching it this morning, and he had two guys on, and it was Jeff Ross and Brad Williams, all right? These are both professional comedians, just like David Spade. And David Spade has structured his show in a really winsome, very cool way, where he does a monologue just like every other, schlub show producer, just like Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. He insulted Andrew Yang early in the election. You can find my Jimmy Kimmel and Andrew Yang video right here on this channel. I do not like Jimmy Kimmel. Stephen Colbert, like all those dudes, he just does a regular monologue. But what he does to make it special is he has all his guests on, and he literally just stands off to the side of the stage, and then his guests heckle him as he does his monologue. They make fun of his jokes, and it's just jokes on jokes, right? And this is a great show because David Spade's show is really, really special. I'm a huge comedy fan, like brick wall and a microphone comedy, Jim Gaffigan is like an intellectual hero. I really like comedy, right? And what's really cool about David Spade's show is he is super intelligent, and so he can bring some real zingers, right? And then he pretty much selects who he wants to come on the show, and all the pro comics that come on the show are very, very funny. It's like he's got the cream of the crop. And then what happens is when you put them together, right, they sharpen each other. So David Spade is quicker. Comics are in this zone where they are better when there is another comic trying to outdo them. Like, it pushes them to their limits, right? And that's what we saw in today's show, right? By the way, this one specifically, you can find it right on YouTube. Jeff Ross, Brad Williams, David Spade. It's right under Lights Out. You can watch it for free, which is really awesome. It's not behind a paywall. Really nice, right? So David Spade gets up and he's doing his comedy, and he makes this joke, and he says, and let me explain Jeff Ross and Brad Williams real quick. So David Spade, SNL iconic alumni, right? Jeff Ross is this bald, dumpy, big white guy, right? And he is like just like the saddest looking. Like, if you saw him on the street, you'd think he was a bus driver, right? But the funny thing is, I'm pretty sure I'm sure he's a millionaire at this point. He is, he's a celebrity. People know him, right? Now, here's the thing: Jeff Ross never had his own show. He's never the star of any movies, right? But he constantly works, and the reason why is he is the best insult comic on the world. He now contains in his soul Don Rickles, right? He will insult people the way he breathes. It's flawless. It's effortless. He's the best insult comic in the world. And here's how he gets work, right? He constantly works. Where you'll see him the most is on Comedy Central roasts, right? He's like the roast master, and he's on every roast because he's just so good at it, right? And it's effortless for him, right? So Jeff Ross, the thing I love about him is he never has his own show. He's never in movies. He's never like the star of anything, right? But he constantly works because he is a stand-up comic who constantly works, and every comic in the industry loves him. And just like David Spade did, when David Spade got his own show, he immediately got on the horn and said, "Get Jeff Ross, get him here," right? And everybody does this. Mark Maron and Pete Holmes and like all the major comics, when they get in a position where they can hire, Jeff Ross is first on the list. He is, all his work comes from other comics saying, "Get this guy in the room," and he's fantastic, right? He's a really, really funny guy. And second is Brad Williams. Brad Williams, professional comic, very, very funny. He looks like Peter Dinklage. He has a dark beard and dark hair, and he just looks exactly like Peter Dinklage. And he really like leans into it. One of his favorite jokes is whatever show he's being interviewed on, they'll say, "Oh, well, what was that like?" And he'll say, "Well, when I was on Game of Thrones." And he says it all the time. It's really, really funny because he's not Peter Dinklage, but he does look like Peter Dinklage, and it is really funny. So, all right, David Spade starts with his monologue, right? So David Spade starts into his monologue, and he says this joke. He says, Kanye West is going to Joel Osteen's evangelical church, right? Going to Joel Osteen's church. By the way, if you want to know, Joel Osteen is by no definition an evangelical Christian. He's Christian, right? Which is not evangelical Christian. And in my opinion, I think Joel Osteen is part of the prosperity gospel, right? Prosperity gospel is a strain of Christianity today, or Christian adjacent people who say that blessings will be in this lifetime. There's a big debate in the Christian community on when blessings occur, right? So basically, and this is a big deal, right? Because it really cuts to the core of what Christianity is, right? So the Bible says, hey, if you obey me, you will be blessed. It says this a million times in different ways, right? Now, this causes a problem for Christians, right? For evangelical Christians who actually have to listen to the Bible and have to wrangle with the truth of every verse. If you're a Christian, air quotes, and you can just pick whatever you like and change words and define it any which way, you're not really going back to the language and trying to determine the real meaning. If you're just picking and choosing whatever you want, it's not a problem. But if you actually believe the Bible and you're trying to determine the truth of it, and you're struggling with God's word and the message he has actually given us, right, then you got some problems, right? So what does it mean if the Bible says, hey, if you obey me, you will prosper, right? Well, how do you reconcile that with thousands of 1619 people who are in America who had the 1619 problem and were treated absolutely horrendously by plantation owners, right? And lived their entire lives as Christians and clearly were never prospered, even though their obedience was very high, right? There's no question that happened. There were 1619 people who were absolutely, who were without a doubt obedient, and they never prospered. So how does that reconcile, right? Because if somebody, if an evangelical Christian finds something in the Bible that's not true, that's a huge problem. We have to understand, why is this? Why does this look to be wrong, right? And so we have to delve into it. And so where evangelicals have landed and have landed with this exact issue is and it says it right in the word. It says, hey, when you get to heaven, you're going to be given crowns, and you will be given a perfect body, and you will be, and the streets you walk on will be like beryl and jewels and silver and gold, right? And so that's how that's explained, right? Is true evangelicals do not believe in a prosperity gospel where it's like, oh, hey, if you obey God, you're going to get a Mercedes-Benz. That's crap. That is crap to every single, that is just utter nonsense to every single evangelical Christian, right? And any preacher who's out there saying, if you obey God, you're going to get blessings in this life, that doesn't square with the word, right? Like, it just doesn't, right? Because every promise in the word is kept, right? And so if there was, and I think there were thousands of them, there were clearly like thousands of 1619 people who had very high obedience and never prospered, right? But the word is kept because their prosperity comes in the afterlife, right? So that's a big deal. So Kanye's going to Joel Osteen's church, right? Now, this is a big deal because there's a huge debate in the evangelical Christian community right now if Kanye is a real Christian or not. People are trying to figure it out, right? The reason they're trying to figure this out is he's presenting as an evangelical Christian, right, to certain groups. And people are like, okay, is this real, right? And one of the problems is when you have young Christians, which is exactly what Kanye West is. He's not a young person. He's a young Christian. So he's only been a Christian for a year or two by his own admission, right? They can say some crazy stuff just because they're young Christians and they haven't matured in their Christianity, right? So there's a big debate right now if Kanye West is actually an evangelical Christian, right? So David Spade says, this is so funny. He says, Kanye West is going to Joel Osteen's church, and the tickets are free, right? But the trick is you got to pay $1,000 to leave early. Everybody in the audience laughs. And then Brad Williams doesn't miss a beat. He says, oh, hey, Jeff, that's just like your shows. And and it was like a connected dot of incredible actions. And there was a boom moment that happened, okay? So basically what happened was then everybody started laughing even harder at Brad Williams' insult on Jeff Ross. Jeff Ross like, kind of jumped up in his seat, right? And Brad Williams then immediately jumped out of his seat, right? And then Brad Williams started sprinting as fast as he could go around the studio, right? And Jeff Ross, who's this really heavy set, Brad Williams is very fit and healthy. And when he ran quickly, it looked like he was running quickly because he was. So Jeff Ross, he starts after him and is running after him, but Jeff Ross is like really dumpy and his run just looked terrible. But Jeff Ross was chasing Brad Williams around the room. And it was so funny and so unexpected and so delightful. But that's not the kicker. The kicker came after that. So Brad Williams sprints all the way around his room in a huge circle, right? And this is a big part of David Spade's show, is he has this huge studio, this stage that he uses exceptionally well, right? And this joke could only have happened because of this really innovative set that David Spade built. It's incredible, right? So then Brad Williams sprints around and runs all the way around the studio. Jeff Ross is running after him, right? And it was just so funny. And then Brad Williams leaps into his chair, right? Now he overshoots it, and the chair topples back on its two back legs, right? I'm not kidding. Brad Williams kicks off from the chair like a gymnast doing a vault of the chair that is toppling over and lands on his feet. It was like an Olympic gymnastics performance. It was amazing, and it was just icing on the cake that everybody was already enjoying. I've never seen anything like it. It was a boom moment. It's one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. It took 3 comedians to make it happen. David Spade, Brad Williams, Jeff Ross. You have to watch it. It's hysterical. But here's the thing that I think is really interesting. It's a true boom moment. And the reason why is you could not have made this moment if you tried. It only happened because of talent and timing and the fact that David Spade does his show every day and has brilliant people on his show. And it was a confluence of those things coming together. We need, in the November 20th, Atlanta, MSNBC, Washington Post, debate number 5. We need for there to be a boom moment that happens with Andrew Yang, right? And the way we're going to get there is, 1, Andrew has never missed a debate. By not missing debates, you have a higher chance of having a boom moment. He has a higher chance than Tulsi does, who missed a debate. He has a higher chance than Tom Steyer, who missed all the debates before debate number 4. He has a higher chance than other forgettables who might make debate number 6, right? And so that's one of the things, is he's working hard, and his numbers will help get a boom moment. The other thing that happens is we do have the other ingredients where we have talented people, right? Now, there are no jokes being made. There are very few jokes being made on the debate stage, right? They are political warriors with their political daggers out. And what we're hoping for is that those Naruto kunais are going to come out, and they're going to politically slash at each other. And there's going to be a point where 2 daggers hit, ching! There's going to be sparks that fly off the dagger. Their faces are going to be in grimaces, and the press is going to capture it. We need that "you, sir, are no Jack Kennedy" moment. And Andrew Yang is close to it. I feel it. I feel it coming. And I think we've had quite a few moments that are close to boom moments. We've had some great moments, but I want that boom moment for Andrew Yang. But the other thing, though, is we just have to hope and pray for it. And the reason why is they cannot be manufactured. They really can't. And that was so proven to me today watching David Spade's show. It was real delight. I want that boom moment for Andrew Yang so badly. And I think we're going to get it in the November 20th. Atlanta, MSNBC, Washington Post, debate number 5. That's my opinion. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.